in the pursuit of truth and common sense in an unbelievable world. You're listening to the Right Mind podcast with your host, Todd Showalter.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Right Mind. I am Todd Showalter. Today, I'm thrilled to have with me both Lorrisa and C.J. Julianus. Do I have that right? They're the filmmakers.
Oh, the first one.
Okay, well, you know, I've been practicing all day. But they're out with a new film right now. It's called The Misadventures of a Mistress Maneater, which sounds really interesting. And they kind of have a couple of other ideas about how they're going to make the world a better place. How you guys doing?
We're doing fantastic, and we're happy to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Where are you guys at? Are you in Chicago?
Just outside Chicago in Crown Point, Indiana.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm in St. Louis, so we're both freezing, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
A little bit.
Well, tell us about, okay, so now your film, I watched a good portion of it, very professionally done. I mean, give me a little bit of the backstory. How did you, I know you both wrote it, or I know Lorrisa did. CJ, okay, and CJ, you directed.
Yes.
How did this whole, story come about? I mean, how did you get involved with this?
Well, Todd, I'm a full-time freelancer in the performing arts, published and internationally produced playwright. My major was in screenwriting. And as an actor, I've appeared on The Bold and the Beautiful, Chicago PD, and worked on video games for Mortal Kombat, Injustice, and the Harry Potter franchises for the last 14 years. And CJ and I met doing theater in 2005.
Yep.
And he's a very, very experienced director and producer, but he can talk more about that.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I've done a lot of theatrical producing, and the genesis of this film was that literally we wanted to make something that was different, that people hadn't seen before, with characters they haven't seen that are not typical, and scenarios that are entertaining and atypical. We wanted to inspire conversation. We wanted to do, Lorrisa and I talk about this all the time. I mean, you're probably the same way, Todd. How many times have you watched a movie where you're like, I've seen this plot before?
Sure. Right. Well, they always say that there's only so many plot lines or so many stories. They just keep getting retold. Right. Okay.
And I'm a picky viewer, so I write what I want to see more of. Stories that are smart and funny and sexy and exciting with high stakes and unusual characters. And after that roller coaster ride comes back to earth, and hopefully makes you feel, as the viewer, a little bit more hopeful about the world around you.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So, okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry, CJ.
As beginning filmmakers, there's a few genres that beginning filmmakers usually take on. Sometimes it's a horror genre, which is typically pretty easy to do. If you have buckets of blood, you can probably make a horror movie.
Lorrisa, you were nominated for a horror film award, weren't you, in Chicago?
Yes, a short film some years ago, yes.
Okay, yeah. Okay, all right.
And, but then there's other genres, and independent films tend to be deadly serious with small subjects and very small production values.
Okay.
And we wanted to change all that. We've looked at all of these things every which way, and we wanted to change things. So we landed on the romantic comedy genre, which is interesting because there's two tropes that have to happen in a rom-com. They have to meet cute at the beginning, or in our case, meet ugly.
I don't know about that.
And then at the end, they have to wind up together. But in between that, you can have anything happen. And the rom-com genre in recent years has become stale. A lot of the plot lines, a lot of the characters, they all tend to be very small with small stakes. And you've seen it before. You can call the plot line 15 minutes ahead of time what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, these two very boring, vanilla, two-dimensional characters very often. What happens if they don't fall in love and wind up together? Well, then they go back to their boring, vanilla lives. Who cares?
Right.
So with
and then Kate Hudson and Matthew McConaughey, they go on to make their next film and blah, blah, blah. No.
Exactly. Gotcha. So we didn't want to make product. We wanted to make something that audiences would watch and go, wow. And we've gotten hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of reviews from around the world. And I would say probably 90 to 95% of them are basically say there's a wow factor with what we accomplished, and we're very proud of that.
Well, maybe I can give you the Cliff Notes description that we have on Amazon. It's very difficult to describe this.
There's no elevator pitch. This is not Snakes on a Plane.
Because it's a rom-com that also involves mystery and action, and is something that a lot of guys enjoy too.
Right.
But here's what we have. With only 30 days to repay a massive loan, a disgraced art historian is forced into a scandalous scheme win the heart of, and then extort the Episcopal priest, avoiding her like loose glitter. Now,
Right.
what that description doesn't tell us is that our disgraced art historian is disgraced because she's now a dominatrix to pay the bills, and she's forced into the scandalous scheme because she's trying to get out of that. And that Episcopal priest just happens to be an MMA fighter to pay the bills.
So you got it all. You got it all in there. I mean, pretty much all you're missing are some children's characters and stuff. I mean, just to round it out. No, I mean, and by the way, I mean, you play the dominatrix, Lorrisa, and I mean, you do a great job. I mean, really well done. When you were putting this together, especially with your theater backgrounds, I mean, how did you take some of your theater aspects and apply that to making this film?
Oh, well, there was a lot of that.
I'll take it. So, being a theater director gave me a really good foundation for directing a feature film, because I know how to stage a scene. I know how to interpret a script. I've been directing Lorrisa's script for other productions as well. So I'm a really good muse for Lorrisa and her words, because I can interpret that well to people. Lorrisa she does not enjoy directing, whereas I do. We have a very yin-yang relationship.
We're fortunate that we've both done each other's jobs in our extensive careers in the entertainment world. So we have respect for each other's jobs and realizing, I don't want to do that.
Right.
Okay.
As a director, when Lorrisa put the finishing touches on the script that we ended up filming, I saw it. And as a director, when I was doing live theater, I would read probably 20 or 30 scripts before I decided what I wanted to stage. And typically actually not typically, always, 100% of the time, if I read a script and I could see it in my head, the way it was going to look, the way it was going to turn out, that was the script I was going to do. And that was the case with this particular film. I saw it on a level of pure entertainment, where if you want to watch this movie as a comedy and enjoy it, there's belly laughs in our movie. But if you want to watch it and dissect it and look for deeper meanings, like a lot of people when they watch movies, they like to look for literary aspects, things like metaphors and allegories. And
Sure.
And those are all there if you want to look for them. So there's two things with it. And my aesthetic, when I'm creating a play or a movie or whatever it is, I want to have things that compel conversation or thought. That's what good art does, whether you're looking at a painting or reading something or watching something. If that can compel a deeper thought or a deeper conversation, then you accomplished your job as an artist.
Gotcha.
And for me, as an experienced playwright, I've learned over the years how to distill a story down to its most sparkly bits, shall we say. So there's no filler. How often do we can watch a movie and say, this is filler, this scene, this line, this character isn't forwarding our plot. It's not pulling us deeper into it. It's not forwarding our understanding of these characters. So in the many years I worked on this story and refined it, my goal was to make it as best and as refined as it could possibly be, like hammering steel out on the anvil.
Sure. And is this your first feature film that you produced?
It is.
Yes.
Okay. Now that is a major account. I produce films myself. And so that a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to just go get a camcorder and go out and do this. Now it's a major undertaking. And so tell us a little bit about that process. I mean, the whole getting the script together and everything is one thing, but you made a feature. I mean, now did you have financing involved, or how did that all come about?
Oh, and we have stories.
But
that's how it is. And that's what I want to hear, because I mean, I could tell you stories as well that stops and starts, and everything you're doing on Friday starts over again on Monday with a new person. And, and so it's crazy. So what were some of the hurdles just making this film that you encountered?
Well, the first thing I will say, and then I'll let CJ take over, is that our goal, unlike so many indie films, was to make this as professional as possible.
Right.
To look like a studio film and to sound like a studio film and to be a studio film every step of the way, whether that was the acting, the writing, the directing, the production design, which so much, the sound, everything. We wanted to be as top-notch as we could possibly make it. And we couldn't have done it without our team. Fantastic team of professionals that we trusted and that gave their very best work day after day.
Yeah, they really did. Any production company is only as good as the people. Any project, You know,
Oh, absolutely. Sure.
Business, you're only as good as the people you surround yourself with. And we were lucky to have the people that we had. But you brought up financing. And that is a really big part of making movies, because
Absolutely.
making movies is expensive.
Very expensive. Yeah.
If you're going to do it right,
If
is
you're gonna do it right.
the key term.
So we've seen movies made for not a lot of money, and it shows.
Oh, absolutely.
We didn't want that.
Right.
So as we were considering how to bring this thing to life, you know, we considered crowdfunding, things like Kickstarter or GoFundMe or whatever.
Sure. Right.
And we decided literally that if we did that without a track record, I mean, we have a track record in theater, but not in movies.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
am I going to go to an investor and say, hey, I want to make a movie, give me money?
Mm-hmm.
But we've seen that happen with many filmmakers in the past, and usually not successfully,
Right.
unfortunately.
So we decided that literally doing that would be an invitation for investors to be like Forrest Gump and run the other way.
Oh, absolutely. Sure. Yeah.
So what we decided to do is we flipped a house.
Okay. You flipped a house. All right. Neat.
And we took our sweat equity. We made a fairly significant profit. I mean, not huge, but enough money to make an independent film if we did all the work ourselves. So
yes, we were very careful alongside our amazing line producer, Suzette Brown, for knowing, okay, this is the bare minimum we have to spend to get good quality, whatever department it was. And in some cases, when it's like, okay, we need this magnificent Baroque painting to be a centerpiece, centerpiece prop of the entire story.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this could cost us $10,000 of the budget, or I was a gallery artist, I can paint it myself.
when we got the estimate for the painting, it was between $5,000 and $10,000. And I said to Lorrisa, I was like, well, it looks like you're painting this.
So every step of the way, it was, okay, we need top of the line for a very low budget. How do we make this happen? And our efforts, along with our wonderful line producer, I believe her husband, my wonderful co-star, Shannon Brown, put it beautifully. He said, she makes $1 out of 15 cents.
Yeah, well, that's what you got to do. That's what you got to do. Do you mind my asking? I mean, what kind of budget were we talking about on this film?
Initially, here's something for if you have any aspiring filmmakers watching right now, and
I do.
Yeah,
Good.
No matter what happens, you're going to have financing fall through. It's just the way it goes. You know, you could have everything lined up in pre-production, your cast, your locations, get contracts signed, all that kind of stuff. But you're going to line up financing, and that kind of thing is going to fall through. So we initially had a partner that was going to contribute half of the budget, and we were thinking about $150,000 to make our movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then he dropped out.
Okay.
And then it was like, uh-oh, what do we do now?
Right.
And we had to go back to plan B, and we ultimately funded it ourselves with the money that we flipped. Larissa's mom contributed a portion of the budget.
Go moms.
Which we're grateful for. Larissa's mom has experienced Larissa's work and my work for the last 15 years. So she knows that whatever we do, we're going to really do it with an exclamation point on the end of it.
Okay.
But we ended up spending on the film all of the money that we made from our movie, plus we've taken money from our own savings to put into it with the marketing afterwards. Mm-hmm. And let's just say that it's a significant amount of money, but for making a movie, not a significant amount of money.
No, and they vary. I mean, they vary, but you made a feature too. I mean,
right.
So that's impressive. So now, were these? Did you shoot it all in the Chicago area?
We shot it all around where we live. We live in Lakes of the Four Seasons in Crown Point, Indiana,
but also the Chicago suburbs. And we also shot in Valparaiso.
Valparaiso University was a big part of this because they let us shoot in their art museum.
Okay.
And they let us shoot in their library. And we're so grateful because we were looking at trying to get the Art Institute of Chicago to do the art gallery scene. Mm-hmm. And that would have been $10,000. I mean, that would have been a huge chunk of our budget.
Sure.
And we literally couldn't afford it. So it's like, how are we going to do this? Valparaiso University is 10 miles from here. They have an art museum. Mm-hmm. And we
Beautiful.
went in, Lorrisa and I went in, we dressed up and looked as professional as we could. We talked to the art museum curator.
The museum director, yeah, he was
And
great.
he was great. And he said, you know what, this is the biggest thing that's happened here in 20 years. Let me talk to my, to the provosts and the people that are at the top of the university. And they let us shoot there for free.
Wow. Fantastic. All right. That's the best kind of, go ahead.
One thing I would underline to these aspiring filmmakers that are listening, you won't, anyone can warn you, anyone can tell you, you can have experienced people coming alongside you, producing with you. You will still learn so much. Mm-hmm. And one of these things is things are never as cheap as you think they will be.
No.
So, but especially
with a film.
Yeah, especially if you want high production quality. So we've encountered wonderful filmmakers, but they managed to shoot something on a Kickstarter budget in 2 days with 2 locations, but it shows. Right. And who really wants to watch that when you have the choice on streaming platforms of beautifully made Hollywood pictures?
Right.
So you really have to decide, I think, early on, what is my goal? Is it just to make a movie for the sake of making a movie? Or am I willing to save what I need, create the network that I'm going to need in order to create something truly spectacular, which will cost so much more money and time than you think it should, even if you're able to do everything.
Exactly.
So no matter what, like, for example, if you want truly quality actors, if your cast is of any size, and ours is 40 people, which is extremely large for an indie. But if you want truly quality actors, you will need to hire SAG union.
I was going to ask that. So did you use SAG actors?
We did, about a dozen of us.
Okay.
And no matter what, that's going to cost money. Payroll, which SAG requires, is going to cost money. If someone's being your line producer, helping you with budgeting, helping you hire the right people,
they have to be paid.
That's going to cost money. Good.
Absolutely.
I can see now in other independent films, they didn't hire a makeup artist. I can tell.
Right.
They didn't hire a gaffer. The scenes are flat, or the lighting is not even. It just doesn't look beautiful.
Or they didn't hire a sound person, which is the number one thing.
Sound is okay. I'm glad that you said that, because sound, in my opinion, is key. You can have a great DP and you got some great shots, but I hate it when somebody says, "Well, we'll just worry about that in post." No. When you've got sound that's make or break with a film. So I agree with you 100% on that. How long actually was your shoot? I mean, when you were actually
28 days.
There's 3 aspects to this. Actually, there's 4.
Well, he asked how long the shoot was.
The shoot was.
So shoot days, there were 28 filming days. And the biggest thing I would encourage aspiring filmmakers, if you can make your shoot days as few of them as possible, that's what's going to save you money. But in our case, we had action scenes. Every action sequence, it might take up, I don't know, a quarter of a page, a half a page, whatever it takes up. It will take you all night to film. So you have to realize the more people you have in the scene, the more action is going on in a scene. If it's just not 2 people sitting in a room talking, if you really want those Hollywood production values, it's going to cost a lot of time.
And it's going to take time. Yeah. And time is money when you're making a movie.
Well, now, moving on. I mean, so now, okay, you've got the movie, you've got the financing, you produced it, you've got all that, you went to post, you edited, you did everything you need. Now we've got to get it out there for people to see. You got distribution you got to deal with. What was your plan as far as securing distribution for it?
Oh, there's a story. Because as you probably know, Todd, and a lot of filmmakers who are currently producing know, but a lot of the late people don't know, distribution has changed from 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
It's no longer how many, a distributor deciding how many DVDs am I going to pay to have produced in my 2 slots at Blockbuster. No. Distribution is the easiest thing in the world to secure. You can throw your work up on Amazon Prime tomorrow. That only reaches US and UK. If the distributor will reach many more markets, they won't even watch your movie and they'll sign it and take it on and throw it up. And we've watched movies from so many independent movie distributors, some of them considered the better ones, that you can tell all these errors and flaws in these movies that no one even watched before it was thrown up on streaming platforms.
Just content.
That is not the problem.
Right.
Just getting distribution is not the problem. Trying to get any money for your work that everybody can see and trying to get people to watch it, that's the problem.
That's the issue.
And I'll let
absolutely
C.J. take over on that.
And there are a lot of horror stories about distribution companies. Where you back in, like, you're going to get it after I do this and this. A buddy of mine, he filmed a movie that is actually, it did pretty well. And it made it to some, maybe it was on airlines, and made a bunch of streaming platforms. And that was 10, 12 years ago. He's just seeing his first check. Yep. And, it's a lot of, you got a lot of shady people out there. So did you have an aggregator, somebody that helped you get this ready, or, to get it to the right distributors?
We worked very hard. We had a film.
So here's what we did. We initially released on Amazon Video Direct.
Okay.
And that's a 4-pay channel where we split the proceeds with Amazon.
Okay.
Then we pretty much exhausted our built-in audience and made the money from there. And then we hired a film agent to help us secure interviews with various distributors.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we were concerned after Craig, because CJ had met him through AFM, the American Film Market,
sure.
And we were concerned that we didn't go through the same thing your friend did. We don't want to be victims of these shady distribution companies mm-hmm. that give you a great line, but then you never see a dime for years. They don't respond. We've heard of this time and time again from other filmmakers.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the film buyer's agent that we hired, it was 2 guys, and one of the guys, did you ever watch The Big Lebowski, Todd?
Oh, absolutely, sure, I loved it.
Okay,
yeah, Jeff Bridges.
So one of our film agents is literally the guy that Jeff Bridges' Lebowski character was based on. His name
really
was
okay.
Cow. Yeah,
that's a movie right there.
Right.
He
was back in the day. He was actually closely allied with the Chicago 7. Which
okay,
crazy stories there.
Their company is Blood, Sweat, and Honey, if anyone's interested.
So anyway, they found a bunch of distribution companies that were interested in distributing our film.
Okay.
And Lorrisa, if she doesn't make films, she could easily be a counter agent in the CIA.
Okay, well, that's and that's a whole nother movie. You could have sequels.
Right?
A dominatrix is in the CIA. I like
it. There's a plot there.
We'll put some kids and animals in it, and we'll cover all the demos. That'll be perfect.
There you go.
So what Lorrisa did is she basically, we were given 7?
6 or 7.
Well, we actually interviewed 7, but we had gotten more.
Okay.
Distribution companies, and Lorrisa went and looked at all of them. She looked at their Better Business Bureau ratings. She looked them up with what people had to say on various, I think Glassdoor is one of them.
Well, I also said, okay, if we know up front before our meeting that you're going to charge us 35%, and also off of anything we make, you want an initial 25 to 50 grand for marketing, I'm going to go see how you actually market your other movies that have any similarity to ours whatsoever.
Have to market it. So
what I would find would be 2 Instagram posts, and you've never distributed a romantic comedy ever.
Yeah, and that cost us $25,000. So we decided we did not want to do that, and we listened to a lot of great pitches. We heard from a pitch. This guy was like a VP at Paramount, right? Mm-hmm. And he was heading up an indie distribution company. And the first thing he said to us is like, you guys made a really nice little horror film. Lorrisa and I looked at it.
It's a good thing we were on the phone, because we just looked at each other. We went,
you never watched our movie, which goes back to what Lorrisa was saying. Film distributors, they don't care.
Right.
The more movies they distribute, the more odds they have of finding one that
it costs them nothing.
Yeah, it costs them nothing. So if your movie makes $50 or $50,000, they're going to take their 20 or 30 or 40%, 35%, and they're going to get money from all of them. So the more movies they have that they're distributing, they're going to get their cut, and it's a numbers game for them.
No, absolutely.
They literally don't need to watch your film. Like in the old days, they would watch your film and determine, okay, do I want to put this? Is this a video direct? Are we going to put it straight to DVD? Is it going to go in theaters? Whatever. And then it was a lot harder to get a distributor, because they were literally going to pay you a lump sum of money for the rights to your film. Mm-hmm. That doesn't exist anymore. None of it exists anymore.
No, I will admit we did get one offer from one company that's not held in very high esteem, and I believe they offered us $3,000.
$3,000, and we would have never seen any money after that.
No, and that's just it. And people don't realize that. So it's great. I think what you're saying, which is very smart, you got to do your homework, and it's also good to make sure that you surround yourself with people that know what they're doing. But like you guys said, and you went through it, and people just don't, from my opinion, or my background rather, they don't understand everything that goes into it. I mean, there's so much. So where can everybody watch your film now?
So we are streaming on all of the major streaming platforms. We're on Tubi, we're on Amazon Prime, Apple TV, IMDb TV, YouTube. We're on the Indie Rights movie channel that's on Tubi.
On Roku.
On Roku, I'm sorry. So we're all over the place. It's Mistress, the Misadventures of Mistress Maneater. In the third quarter of last year, we had almost 19 million minutes streamed on Prime. So
wow. Okay.
We're getting fan mail from around the world, which we're thrilled with.
Right.
And we would love everybody to watch our film. If you like it, tell your friends to watch it, post about it, leave us a rating and review if you would be so kind. And if you hate our movie, tell all your enemies to watch it.
Exactly. Right. Or tell somebody whose phone was disconnected or something. Yeah, that's right. No, we'll put that up on the screen. We'll put everything in the descriptions for the audio version, so everybody can, get a hold of it. Now, like I said, I haven't watched the whole thing, but what I've seen, it's very entertaining, very professionally done. And like you said, I mean, from the get-go, it looks like a major studio film. And so, but story is everything, that, and you got a great story. So it's an amazing job that you did. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. There's one thing I would like to say to other aspiring filmmakers out there. When we were deciding on our our distribution company, Indie Rights, we knew that they had a great reputation among filmmakers, even though they might not have the flashiest website and all that. Their resources went toward being effective. And she encouraged me, Linda Nelson. She didn't blow smoke up my skirt like a lot of the others, gave me the sales pitch, but she said, talk to the filmmakers. Mm-hmm. So that's what I did. When I would have questions for every single distributor, I would make them run the gauntlet where I was like, all right, I would ask them questions to know if they had actually watched all of it. Specific questions. Well, what was your favorite part?
Right.
And I would ask questions like, what are your comps? What are your comparable films? Have you done well with them? How do you feel about that? And then I would look up these films. I would go to IMDb, look up the producers, reach out to them on social media and say, hey, I'm trying to decide on a distributor. This is my film. I saw that yours is similar genre. I'd love to talk to you. And you'd be surprised how many of these filmmakers were willing to talk to me and have long phone conversations with me. Building my network.
Well, you're like war buddies. You've all been through the trenches together.
Exactly. So and that's a great advantage of Indie Rights as well, is they team up all their filmmakers.
Right.
So all the filmmakers know, hey, let's support each other. Let's help each other. This is what's working or what isn't. And that's very important. You can't do this alone.
Even better, Indie Rights, instead of taking 30 or 35 or 40% of a cut from a filmmaker, they're only looking at 20%.
Okay, so
far less.
Monetary.
So that's more money for us.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, you guys have been great. I've loved our conversation and talking with you, and I can't wait for everybody to see it. Again, my guests today are Lorrisa and C.J. Julianus. They are the filmmakers, and Julianus is actually in the film. C.J. is the director of The Misadventures of a Mistress You go ahead and say it for me. The Misadventures of a Mistress Maneater.
Of Mistress Maneater, not
Thank you.
Mistress Maneater.
No,
she is the Mistress Maneater.
Don't make the title any longer than it already is, Todd.
I'm sorry. It made me stutter, and I don't even stutter. No, that's great. We're going to get it up on the screen, and so everybody can see it. But thank you very much for joining me. I appreciate it, and I hope you'll come back and see me again sometime.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you
Bye,
very much.
everybody.
Bye-bye. Well, thank you for joining me. I'm Todd Showalter, and you've been watching or listening to Right Mind. And remember, if you don't have a right mind, you don't have a mind at all. Till next time, bye-bye.
This has been the Right Mind Podcast with Todd Showalter.